You're listening to the Fort Erie Podcast, your local source for upcoming events, hot new listings, and bite-sized interviews with business and community leaders. Here's your host, Brent Jones.
Hello and welcome. Good morning. You are listening to Season 5, Episode 4 of the Fort Erie Podcast. It is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022, and I am your host, Brent Jones. Today, my guest will be Jamal Mills-Alexander, owner of Jamazing Boutique in Ridgeway. But first, folks, I am running another giveaway. This month, I am giving away a $50 gift certificate, which can be redeemed at Green Apple Coffee House. If you haven't had a chance to check them out, their newest location opened up on Jarvis Street not too long ago, but the gift certificate can be used at all of their locations, including Port Colborne and St. Catharines, if you're out that way. Visit theforteriepodcast.com and click giveaway at the top of the page if you'd like to enter. It's fast, free, and easy to get your name into the draw, or you can click the link in the show notes below today's episode. I'll be drawing a winner at the end of March. Anyway, let's get on to what's making local news. Many of you know local Fort Erie native Lee Siegel. Well, he has returned to New York City and to Broadway. He tells Niagara this week that it's been a lot like going home again. He's the former artistic director for the O Canada A dinner show and the founder of New Works Productions. He is part of the cast of Paradise Square, and as I understand it, busy preparing for the show's run at the Barrymore Theatre. Preview performances begin March 15th. At the Barrymore Theatre. Opening night is April 3rd. And of course, folks back here at home in Fort Erie, Lee, are wishing you well. The other story that I wanted to touch on, another bit of good news here, proof of vaccination is no longer required to enter quite a number of different town facilities. For example, the Leisureplex, including the walking track, as well as the Crystal Ridge Arena, Town Hall, the Fort Erie Historical Museum. Just some samples of Fort Erie venues now widely reopened to the public. Municipal facilities will be open Monday to Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. with staff available to assist residents and visitors in person or online or by phone. So proof of vaccination will not be required, but of course mask mandates and physical distancing requirements are still in place for the time being. For this week's hot new listing, I wanted to draw a little attention to 2547 Thunder Bay Road in Ridgeway. This property is listed by my team at Remax Niagara Realty. Beautiful property, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, attached triple car garage. The property was built less than 30 years ago. It's updated throughout, quite a number of new updates. Big lot, 160 by 347, so plenty of land to go with it. The asking price is just shy of $1.4 million, and the seller will be reviewing offers March 14th. So coming up next week, if you would like more information about this property or to book a private viewing, please contact me directly. You can go to theforteriepodcast.com and click the contact link at the top of the page, or you can call or text me at 905-626-8826. All right, folks, let's check in here with the Fort Erie Questions and Answers Facebook group. I'm curious to see what's on your minds this week. Kat asks, is there anyone doing taxes for low-income families? There were a couple of different responses. The top response I saw was Fort Erie Public Library would be able to offer assistance for those earning less than $35,000 per year. And I also noticed one person commented Salvation Army. Listeners of this program, you may recall Ann Waters was my guest last season on the Fort Erie podcast from Salvation Army. And I do seem to recall that she mentioned annual tax help for those who need it through Salvation Army's community services. The other question I wanted to highlight here, Ken asks, is there a local company that can build a detached 2-car garage? And there were, again, a few different responses, but the top response, the most common response I saw was branched out carpentry here in town. Now, I'm going to jump into my conversation with Jamal here in just a moment. A couple of things, though. As always, technology is not perfect, and this is another instance where Zoom has turned out to be my mortal enemy, and there was quite a bit of echo and feedback during our conversation here that unfortunately got picked up in the recording. So while I think we had a great conversation, there is going to be some interference, some background noise, which hopefully you'll be able to sort of look past, dear listener. That point aside, I seem to consistently mispronounce Jamal's name. Hopefully I'm getting better, and she will forgive me when she hears this recording. Anyway, on to my interview with the owner of Jamazing Boutique. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you, and let me start first by saying welcome to the town of Fort Erie. Welcome to Ridgeway.
Thank you. I love Ridgeway. I'm happy to be here.
Well, let's talk about that, because I'm gonna probe you a little bit today about making the move. For people who know, you started a retail venture in Port, you moved to Ridgeway. What makes Ridgeway and the town of Fort Erie such a great place to live and work?
I think it's a really good community. It's small town. It seems to be big on its small businesses, and I think they respect that and acknowledge that. So it's just been a very welcoming community.
And you found that's been a good fit with your brand and what you're all about.
Definitely. I find Ridgeway too is up and coming, and I would view myself as somebody who's also up and coming. So it felt like a good fit, and it felt like a good place to bring my existing customers as well.
So you had a store in downtown Port that was called I believe it was Absolutely, right?
It was.
The name? Yeah, and then you made the move to Ridgeway. It's Jamazing Boutique. What has changed this? What has stayed the same? What has changed? And kind of what's your brand and your store all about?
So the name has changed because I have grown and I feel I'm more Jamazing, and that name was given to me by one of my very first bosses in a clothing store I worked at. So I always think now she knew I was Jamazing then, and I'm like realizing it now. So kind of just felt like I outgrew Absolutely. Always will be a part of me, but we're kind of aligning more with Jamazing.
The other part I was curious about was kind of who is your store for? Like, what's it all about? What's your brand about? What would a customer expect to experience kind of walking into Jamazing Boutique? What would they get?
So I would say a very more personalized experience, one-on-one. One positive thing for me that came from COVID was allowing me to have one-on-one appointments when we could only do that. And that was a way I want to run my business, because it is a little more niche. I think it's for the woman who does love herself, wants to work on herself, is really just becoming who she is. So when you walk into my store, I'm going to kind of hone in on that. I'm going to want to learn about you and learn how you want to dress, maybe what your insecurities are, so we can work on that and eliminate it. So it is more of, I want to say, a coaching experience as much as it is a shopping experience.
So regular listeners may or may not know this, but I have all my guests fill in kind of a cheat sheet for me before we get started. So when I asked you for your title, or kind of who you were, you put boutique owner. You know where I'm going with this. You put boutique owner.
Quite a few different things, yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to read them out. You put boutique owner, personal stylist, body confidence coach, and fashionista. So talk to me about those different roles. What do those different roles involve?
Okay, so the boutique owner, I own the boutique. It is me. I open it and close it. Everything you see comes from me. So, whether it's the cleaning, whether it's the social media, the sales, I do all of that. Personal styling is getting to know my customers and what their styles are. When I bring things into the boutique, it's more like now when I'm buying, I'm seeing certain customers when I see a piece of clothing. So I bring that piece in. If I don't resonate with it, I don't bring it in. Body confidence coaching, I took a life coaching course in May of 2021 to just certify me. And I just kind of aligned more with body confidence coaching, because that's what I do. I've been doing it for 10 years now. I'm kind of just giving it a title so I can do more with it. And fashionista, because that is just what I am.
How did you kind of first get involved, let's say, in the fashion space? Like, how did that, was that just something you always knew you wanted to do? Or how did you get involved there?
I always liked clothes, and I think I always dressed unique and stood out. I didn't know if there was going to be, okay, so I'll start from the beginning then. I did apply to Fanshawe in high school for fashion merchandising, and I really didn't like school or enjoy it. I got mediocre grades, and just where I was at, it was like they were telling me to apply to college. So I did, got in, and the next natural step seemed to go. So I did, and I dropped out 2 months in, and I don't regret going, and I don't regret leaving. Then I came back home and I worked at McDonald's, which is my high school job. And one day I was coming home and there was a help wanted sign in a store window, Double T Fashion in Port Colborne, where I opened Absolutely. So I was driving home one day and I went in and applied for the job and I got it. And when Sarah hired me, she told me it was going to be a dead end job because she was closing the store, having her second baby, and like priorities had changed, but she would take me on. It would just be like a dead end job. So I worked for her best 5 months of my life. I learned more from her than I could have at school. That hands-on learning and literally running a store taught me everything I needed to know. So that's how I got into it. And then after Sarah closed Double T, it sat empty and I applied at many different stores, didn't get anything. And then my mom was like, well, why don't you try? I was 20 years old. Why don't you open a store? So with the help of her and my papa, I opened my store and that's how it started. And I've been doing it ever since.
So what other changes do you see coming then? I mean, you talked about the growth from going from, your previous sort of retail operation to now having Jamazing Boutique. What other growth do you see coming for you, say in the next, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? What's next for you?
I think quite a lot. I don't want to, I'm a big believer in I do things and then I let my actions talk for me. So I can't give too much away, but I would say Ridgeway has a lot of positive to look forward from me. And I think there's a lot of big things coming.
That's awesome. That's cool. Well, of course, I'm going to put links in the show notes below this episode, everything you're up to, so listeners can make sure to follow you. And certainly if they've never been to your store before, to come check it out, come meet you in person. Thank you so much for the chat.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I wanted to wrap up today's episode with just highlighting a few community events that are coming up. As always, lots going on at Fort Erie Public Library. If you are interested in card making, get yourself registered for this afternoon. Join Marianne from the Card Chalet to make beautiful scrapbook-worthy cards. Coming up this Friday, March the 11th, pick up between 5 and 6:30 p.m. The Fort Erie Lions Club Community Dinner is going on. The baked ham dinner, which includes baked ham, scalloped potatoes, veggies, pineapple, roll, and dessert. I'm also excited to announce that we have live music happening again. This Saturday, March the 12th at 7 p.m. You can catch the Max Hillier Trio at Brimstone Brewing Company in Ridgeway. And the last thing, I don't know if this counts as an event, but I wanted to draw attention to this anyway, because, I like focusing on all things good in our community. The NAGRA this week annual Reader's Choice nominations are going on right now. So if you want to nominate some of your favorite businesses in Fort Erie that you think need a little bit of extra recognition, check out the link in the show notes below this episode. You can nominate local businesses right up to March 14th. Anyway, folks, I think that's just about going to do it. You can join me next week for a brand new episode of the Fort Erie podcast. The farewell season continues. Repeat guest Mary Lou Ambrose Little will be joining me next week for an update on downtown Stevensville. But that's it for now. So long, everybody. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Fort Erie podcast with your host, Brent Jones, a sales representative with RE/MAX Niagara Realty Limited Brokerage. Follow @BuyWithBrent on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates. Subscribe to the Fort Erie podcast on popular platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and catch a new bite-sized episode every week. Until next time.